All right. So now that this is recording, we are going to talk about your Constitution test that will look nothing like what I said it would 6 weeks ago. I am still in the process of creating the test, to be quite honest. I am going through my test and pulling out questions that can be answered in a Google form format. My tests up until this point in time have been things like short answers and a lot of short answers, which is fine, but it creates some problems with Google because what happens is you have to put in the correct answer, and then if you guys spell something wrong, or if I spell something wrong and you guys spell it right, and it notices that, then it marks all these answers wrong that shouldn't be. So using those kind of questions aren't really awesome for this purpose. The other issue is the fact that when you're at home, you're going to have your textbooks, the internet, you're going to have all of these things. Because I am not ridiculous. And if I were you personally, and I was at home taking a test and I didn't know an answer, of course I'd open my textbook. Why wouldn't you? Of course, I'd answer on the internet. Of course, right? So it's a matter of finding questions that either A, make you really search the internet, and it's not going to be a simple, like, what year was the Constitution written? There are a few easy ones in there. I mean, I got to throw y'all a bone, but with that, I've come up with 25 multiple questions, 3 different versions of the test. Which means questions are in different orders, answers are in different orders. The questions are asked differently. So, like one of you, let's say Connor gets a test that says there are 3 branches of government. There are 3 branches to the United States government: legislative, executive, and now Lily might get a question that says there are 3 branches of the government: judicial, executive, and. Now, it's the same question, it's just not asking it the exact same way. So I consider those kind of different questions. So I'm working on writing 3 different versions of it. That part is 25 multiple choice questions. I would expect nothing less than for you to use your book, for you to use your internet access. Locking down a Chromebook only works as well as the fact that you guys have secondary devices. So if you have your phones out, you would still be able to use that. So even with that, I'm not going to lock it down because that's just going to hinder somebody who doesn't have a secondary device. And, the person who still has their phone, they're still going to be able to go look things up. There's also going to be an essay portion to the test. That has 2 or 3 essay questions. Think not like, pages of answers, but with essay questions, think of more like a paragraph. 1 paragraph answer, kind of 5 sentences, something along those lines. Now, don't get me wrong, if you wrote 6 sentences, it'd be fine. But these questions that will be asked will be more per se something like, which branch of government do you believe is the most important and why? So you specifically would have to go out, look up the legislative branch, look up the judicial branch, look up the executive, judicial, and legislative. I don't know which one I left off at that point in time. You'd have to look up one of those branches that you think is, the most important branch for America. And you would have to research it, know what you were talking about, give me legit things. If the answer is something like, let's see, the legislative branch is the most important branch because it makes laws, I'm going to count you wrong. The legislative branch is not the only place that makes laws. The executive branch makes laws. So I'm going to count you wrong. So with that, you need to, on the essays, although you have the internet and your book and all these things, understand you're going to be held to a higher standard to answer the questions as well. Crappy answers will not be tolerated and they will be marked wrong. And by that, I mean the ones that just kind of float out of your head in like a split second. So If you were to say, I don't know, the judicial branch, because judges can determine laws unconstitutional. Well, you're going to have to give me more than just that. Okay. And I agree, judges can determine things to be unconstitutional, but, I'm going to go back with how their checks and balances are also used against them. And do they have the power to do a lot of different things? So you got to give me more than just like a one liner for those essay questions. Okay. And again, each of those essay questions are going to be essentially you giving me some sort of information about what you think about something in the government. Um, all of them will be based off of the Quizlet questions that you guys see, or previous topics that we've talked about in class or worksheets that we've had. You might even want to look at some of your previous worksheets that you've had in class and, look there for answers. So essentially, you're going to have 25 questions and 3 essay questions. I am putting these into 2 parts, part A and part B. Both will arrive to you on Tuesday. You have 48 hours to complete both parts. That assignment will be due. It's going to show up midnight on Tuesday. You'll have all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday, and at 11:59 on Wednesday, it's going to disappear. Like it's just not even going to be there anymore. So you're going to have 48 hours to take that test. So whether you want to take it on Tuesday, whether you want to take it on Wednesday, if you want to do all the parts at the same time, that's totally up to you. But the issue is because of the restrictions that have been placed on myself and Mrs. Williams, we're supposed to have everything graded by Sunday. So when you guys are writing your essays, it takes a little bit longer to write essays or to grade essays than it does to like grade multiple choice questions. So we need more time. So that's why we're going to be grading Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and maybe into Sunday. So the grades can be posted by Sunday evening at 8 p.m., which is what's the requirement from Mrs. Schnick. Because we're supposed to have our grades updated every week at 8 p.m. So those are kind of the things. There will be questions from the Quizlet. There will be questions related to the Quizlet, to the questions you've already had on worksheets and things along those lines on the multiple choice questions. My suggestion is if you don't want to spend all day taking the test, that you actually do study the Quizlet so that you have some of those questions and ideas like in your head, or at least you kind of know where to look for them at. Because if you're asked a question and you're like, I don't know where that's at, and it's not the easiest thing to find on the internet, where did I see that? What worksheet was that in? And I like to personalize questions. So I like to say things like, during the COVID-19 quarantine, you're not going to find if you just copy and paste those onto the internet, you're not going to find that answer there because it's a completely made up question. And nobody has, printed it from a worksheet or gotten it from a textbook where this stuff is online already. So you would have to kind of look at it and go, okay, what are they talking about? Okay, what Bill of Rights is this? Okay, like now what is it? So that's that. The big thing is 48 hours. You're going to have 48 hours to take the test. I'm going to capitalize it. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to put it on Tuesday. That kind of thing. You guys, again, I expect that you'll be able to use your books and the internet. But again, if you have to look up every single thing in a book, it is going to take you forever. And I pity the person who takes 5 hours to take this test because that's ridiculous. So Miss Williams and I will be grading the papers. She will be helping me grade. Some of your papers will be graded by her. Some of your papers will be graded by me. So there's that. If you have questions, and if either one of us have a question about something, we're going to talk to each other. We're going to say like, hey, this person gave us this. Hold on a second. I have to tell my kids to be quiet. Hey, Camden, Lily, you're louder than I am right now. Thank you. Sorry. So with that, we're going to talk to each other. So if she's like, hey, are we giving credit for this answer? Or, do we want to give half credit for this answer? That kind of thing. We'll be in pretty constant communication as far as that goes. Now, do you guys specifically have any questions about the test? I will tell you, I am not finished creating it. I am still in the process of typing out questions and making sure that they work the way that I type them out and that they're easily answerable. So different types of like check boxes, and some are true false and some are multiple choice, and that kind of thing for the 25. Again, some of the questions pulled from the Quizlet that you should be studying today. Do remember, there is no assignment to turn in for Thursday. Your assignment is to study for the test on Tuesday. All right, so throwing it out there. Any questions? Miss Williams, are you there? Are there any?
I am. I'm getting no questions.
All right. I mean, hey. So, some of the things that you guys might have to do. Hey, Camden, you're too loud. Some of the things you might have to do, and do you remember the notes that we took before we even left class? Because those things are going to be on the test too. So, like, what's the Virginia plan? If you don't know what it is, you really need to go back and look at those notes. Let's see. What was the name of the group of delegates who created the Constitution? Those kind of things. The bigger kind of questions. It might say something like in an essay, why do you believe the Three-Fifths Compromise was important to the Constitution? So you may be able to look up the Three-Fifths Compromise, but then you're going to have to take the information and say why you think it's important. So that kind of thing. Does anybody have any questions? And again, like I said, still working on it. I'm still working on the test myself, because it is challenging to make a test that's going to be given on the internet when kids get to use the internet and the books and all that kind of stuff to actually see what you really know. Oh, next thing. Okay, so here's the next thing. Starting after our Constitution, we are going to start using Pearson Realize. Pearson Realize is our online textbook. Your assignments will be posted through there. You'll turn them in through there, that kind of thing. So that's going to be interesting. It could, if you wouldn't mind going and signing into your Pearson Realize. I know Pearson Realize sometimes has its problems and its challenges. It does. So there, with that, they said they were working on those, but you never know. So Pearson Realize will be where we're kind of pulling questions from and doing activities in, and completing those activities from here on out. There will be no Civil War project for you guys. That's a first in like a decade for me. That's like wicked. So there's no Civil War project or anything like that. It's really just going to be about kind of working through all the parts of history going forth. We're going to kind of I'm going to think it's going to be like, we're just going to kind of review a chapter a week. You're going to read through the chapter, week and a half, read through the chapter, complete the work, and we're going to move on after the Constitution test. So make sure that your Pearson Realize works. I am also going to put um, the tech support email up on my page. If your Pearson doesn't work and you don't know your login, I don't know it either. That all that information is at school. um, and the only person who has digital access to that is Miss Poynton, our tech person. So with that, I hope you remember where your information is to log on to Pearson. Uh, Guys, that was not directed towards you. I hope you remember where that is because that's where we're going to move after this is done. It's not optimal, but we're going to try it. Are there any questions? All right.
Yeah,
We're good?
looks like it.
Okay. Well then, I'm done for the day. If you guys want to sign off, not too long, just telling you a little bit about the test. If you have any specific questions about the test, don't be afraid to ask them. I can do my best to answer them at this point in time. Like I said, 25 questions, 2 parts, one part essay, one part like just straight like multiple choice questions, and you're going to receive both parts on Tuesday, and you'll have 48 hours to complete that. On the positive side, I'm going to make Wednesdays and Thursdays assignments pretty easy and short. So yay. All right, Miss Williams, if you wouldn't mind staying in the meeting so we can chit chat about the test a little bit. Everybody else can exit. Stay safe, have fun, enjoy your day, that kind of thing.